Welcome to another edition of Watch More Sports. I'm your host, Abdul Hakim. Before we get started on tomorrow's games, I would like to recap the game from Thursday night, September 7th, Kansas City Chiefs versus the New England Patriots. It was a very shocking outcome because the Kansas City Chiefs won the game 42-27. Bill Belichick's defense gave up over 500 yards of total offense. Very uncharacteristic of a Bill Belichick coach team, period. Tom Brady's quarterback rating was about 35%, I believe. Very poor. 267 yards, I believe he threw for. He only completed 44% of his passing. The running back, Mike Gillislee, he did have 3 rushing touchdowns, but he only accumulated 45 yards rushing. Gronkowski, 2 catches for 33 yards. That's not going to cut it. Chris Hogan, 1 catch for 8 yards, and I believe 2 rushes for about 15 yards. Couple injuries. Danny Amendola, he had a concussion, and Hightower, the linebacker, I believe he had like a sprained meniscus. Alex Smith threw for over 300 yards and had 4 touchdowns and no interceptions. Kareem Hunt, in the first quarter, he had a fumble. He came back strong after that and had 267 scrimmage yards, and I believe 3 touchdowns. Travis Kelce had about 5 catches for 40 yards, and Tyreek Hill had over 100 yards and a touchdown. The Kansas City Chiefs, they really played well, and they shocked everybody. They shocked the world. They were actually underdogs. They were underdogs by, I believe, about 10 points, and they won that game. Bill Belichick said after the game that they had to coach better, they had to play better, and they just got beat. And that was actually what happened. I wondered, because they had a ceremony for like them winning the Super Bowl and stuff like that before the game started, and I wondered if some guys lost focus. So moving along, the Tampa Bay Bucks were to face the Miami Dolphins, and that game has been postponed to week 11. It just so happens that both teams had bye weeks in week 11. So they won't be playing this weekend, which is September the 10th. They'll be playing week 11, and the storm or hurricane Emra is set to touch down sometime tonight or in the morning. So, we wish everybody well, and the latest is that people that evacuated Miami, South Miami. So moving along, we're going to get into the 1 o'clock games and move along to the 4 o'clock game, and then the 8:30 game on Sunday night, and then the 2 Monday night games. So first off, we have a division rivalry, the New York Jets and the Buffalo Bills. And the Jets have a 25% chance to win this game, and Buffalo Bills have a 75% chance to win this game. And the Buffalo Bills is favored by 8 points. The Jets have a really, really, really good defense. They lost a player, Sheldon Richardson, out of the University of Missouri. They traded him for Jerome Kearse, who was a wide receiver with the Seattle Seahawks. So that was a swap, and I think a draft pick comes along with that in 2019. So Todd Bowles helps his receiving core out. But the strength of that team is on the defensive side of the ball with Muhammad Wilkerson and Leonard Williams out of the University of Southern California. Muhammad Wilkerson comes from Temple. That's the strength. They also have a young safety who I'm interested in seeing. His name is Jamal Adams. Played his college ball at LSU, and he's a do-it-all safety, first rounder. I expect big things out of him this year, and I'm sure the coach Todd Bowles do too. On the offensive side of the ball, is a little bit uncertain at the quarterback position. The quarterback is Josh McCown, and the running back is Matt Forte, who's a proven back. He's a little older, but he's a proven back. He comes out of Tulane, played his college ball at Tulane, and Bilal Powell will be the spell back, so to speak, the guy who comes in around third down, catch the ball and stuff like that. And he played his college ball at Louisville. I said they had Jermaine Kearse, wide receiver. They got Jeremy Curley back. He played his college ball at TCU. And they have a wide receiver named Ryan Anderson. So we just anxious to see what they are able to do, the New York Football Jets. And on the other side of the ball, Coach Doug McDermott is the football coach, and Tyrod Taylor did cleared concussion protocol, so he's listed as questionable, and I believe he will get the start tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern time. Coach McDermott said that he want to give the ball to LaShawn McCoy every single time, so I guess that explains to us what he really wants to do, and that's run the ball. They traded Sammy Watkins to the Los Angeles Rams, who we'll talk about at a later in the show. But the Buffalo Bills, I guess we'll see what happens. They have a very good chance of winning this game at home against the struggling Jets on offense. The next 1 o'clock game that we're going to talk about is the Atlanta Falcons and the Chicago Bears. The Atlanta Falcons travel to Soldier Field to face the Chicago Bears. The Atlanta Falcons have a 64% chance to win this game, and the Chicago Bears have a 35% chance to win this game, and Atlanta is favored by 7 points. And I think when we talk about the Atlanta Falcons, we all remember the points that they scored in the Super Bowl, and then the lack of points that they scored in the second half of the Super Bowl. But they do have the reigning MVP, and I'm anxious to see what he's able to do. And his name is Matt Ryan. He played his college ball at Boston College. Devontae Freeman just got a big contract. He played his ball at Florida State. We all know, Julio Jones and what he's been able to do. He's arguably uncheckable by one person. Austin Hooper played his college ball at Stanford. He's the tight end. Deion Jones played his college ball at LSU. Vic Beasley led the league in sacks a year ago, and Marcus Trufant played his ball in Washington. And they have a really good team, and we anxious to see if they have a Super Bowl hangover. On the other side of the ball, Chicago they just not expected to do very much this year. They got the quarterback from Tampa Bay who played his college ball at North Carolina State, Mike Glennon. They drafted a quarterback early in the first round. Mitch Trubisky played his ball at University of North Carolina. Leonard Floyd played at Georgia, got injured last year. Expect a big presence out of him at the linebacker position. Kevin White out of the University of West Virginia. He's been hurt. Anxious to see him. I believe he will be the #1 receiver because Alshon Jeffries has moved on to Philadelphia, signed a 1-year deal there. And they also have Kendall Wright, who played his 5-year career with the Tennessee Titans. And in college, he played at Baylor University. So that's a 1 o'clock game to watch. And the next one we're going to talk about will be the Baltimore Ravens versus the Cincinnati Bengals. One thing I noticed is a few division rivalry games opening day, more so than just one. And this is another one. The Ravens and Cincinnati Bengals will face off against each other, and the Ravens have a 41% chance to win this game, and Cincinnati at home at Paul Brown Stadium has a 59% chance to win this game. And the reason that I believe that the percentage is so high for Cincinnati to win this game is because Joe Flacco, who was the leader, he played his college ball at Delaware. He hasn't took any preseason snaps, and I don't know how much in practice, but he had a back injury, and so he's been very limited. So he's going to start tomorrow, which is week 1, and we just have to see how well he does and what is his chemistry like. And I think if it's anything like on Thursday with Tom Brady and some of his new receivers and stuff like that, it won't be much, So hopefully he don't struggle, but he'll be throwing to a new receiver, Jeremy Maclin, who played his college ball at Missouri. Terrence West, the local guy, he's been there for a couple years. He played college ball at Townsend. Mike Wallace at Mississippi, Ole Miss. Brashad Perriman at UCF. He have a new scat back or spell back, and Danny Woodhead. On defense, they got Brandon Carr from Dallas Cowboys, C.J. Mosley from Alabama, and Terrell Suggs is in his 15th year, and he's still rushing hard. The defense is led by Dan Pease, and the head coach is Harbaugh. So on the other side of the ball, we got Marvin Lewis as the head coach. I think he's the second longest tenure head coach in the NFL, active right now, second to Bill Belichick. Andy Dalton will be coming back and hopefully have a strong year. Jeremy Hill, I think, is a little banged up. But the one thing I'm anxious to see about this team is the running backs. They have 3 running backs. They got a guy out of the University of Oklahoma named Joe Nixon. And he's a really good back. He's a do-it-all. He can run between the tackles. He can catch the ball, and he can run off tackle. But they also have Giovanni Bernard, who had a knee injury a year ago. So I think all 3 of those guys will get the ball. It's like a running back by committee. So I'm anxious to see how that go. A.J. Green, who we all know played his college ball at Georgia. He was injured a year ago, and he came short of a 1,000-yard season, but he's healthy, and I seen him in the preseason, and he's lighting it up. He's ready. Brandon LaFell played at LSU, longtime teammate of Cam Newton down in Carolina, and also played a year or 2 with the New England Patriots. John Ross is a rookie, played his college ball at Washington last year. I think most of us remember seeing him playing against Alabama last year. They only scored 7 points, I believe, but outside of that game, they lit it up. He take the top off the defense. The concern with him is health. He's been a little beat and banged up so far through training camp and OTAs this year. Tyler Eifert played his college ball at Notre Dame, and when healthy, he's arguably a top 3 tight end in the NFL. So we're anxious to see how that game goes. And like I said, these are the games that are at 1 o'clock. And the next game is another division battle between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns. And Pittsburgh has a 74% chance to win this game, and they favor by 10. And the Cleveland Browns have a 26% chance to win this game. And there is something very, very interesting about this game, because the longtime cornerback went to 2 Pro Bowls. He played his college ball in Florida. His name is Joe Hayden. He's been a little hurt the last couple years. So Cleveland Browns and Hugh Jackson released him. Well, he ended up getting, the same day he was released, he ended up getting a contract with Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers for 3 years, and I believe it was like $27 or $29 million. So they had interest in him, and they said, well, his injury history is history. If he's healthy now, he can play for us. And so they signed him to a contract, and to be honest with you, Pittsburgh Steelers, their weakness was in the defensive backfield. So hopefully with them signing him will make them a little bit stronger. They also offered, they have gave contracts to Stephon Tuitt and Cam Haywood. Cam Haywood's father is Ironhead Haywood, who we know played for the Saints, and he's died. And Cam Haywood played his ball. He's a defensive lineman. He played his ball at Ohio State. And T.J. Watt out of the University of Wisconsin. He's a rookie. He came in the first round. Big Ben, obviously. Antonio Brown. Le'Veon Bell is healthy and active for this game. He ended his holdout. I believe it was on September the 1st. So he's been at practice and, just getting himself ready and getting into football shape. So hopefully he can stay healthy. On the other side of the ball, Hugh Jackson has decided to go with the rookie quarterback out of Notre Dame, DeShone Kizer. I heard this young guy talk. He speaks very well. He seems very intelligent. But we all know at the quarterback position, it's the most difficult position and the most important position on the football field. And he's going to have some growing pains. But I've seen some throws that he made, and he made some really good throws. He actually, the guy that they traded for, Brock Osweiler, he played so well in training camp, and DeShone Kizer played so well in training camp that Cleveland released him, but they still owe him $16 million. So, hopefully that works out good for Cleveland. Cleveland haven't had much success, but hopefully they will have some success. The bad news is that Myles Garrett, the #1 overall pick in this most recent draft, will not be playing. Someone stepped on his foot in practice. He played his college ball at Texas A&M, and he's going to miss the first 2 games of the season. And they feel like that his long-term future is more important than just getting on the field right away. So hopefully he'll be okay. Isaiah Crowell is going to be the star running back. Corey Coleman missed some time last year with a broken hand, so I guess he's going to be like the starting starting wide receiver for DeShone Kizer. Kenny Britt played his college ball at Rutgers. Jalen Collins and James McCourty and Julius Peppers, who played a little bit of everything at Michigan. Greg Williams is the defensive coordinator and the play caller on the defensive side of the ball. So I expect him to be physical and aggressive. And I expect them to be pretty good. They won 1 game last year. They should be better than 1 game this year. Yeah, Jamie Collins. I think I mispronounced his name just a minute ago. Jamie Collins, who was traded from the Patriots to Cleveland last year. He also got a contract with Cleveland Browns too. So the next 1 o'clock game we're going to talk about is the Arizona Cardinals versus the Detroit Lions, and that game will be played in Ford Field inside the Dome. Surprisingly, the Arizona Cardinals have a 41% chance to win this game, but they favored to win by 3 points. But 59% chance to win the game, according to ESPN, is the Detroit Lions. But I think the most noticeable thing about this game, I'm gonna start on the with the home team, Detroit. Detroit just made their quarterback, Matthew Stafford, out of the University of Georgia, the highest paid player in the National Football League. He got about $90 million in guaranteed money coming his way. So we want to see how this affects his play, or if it affects it at all, in a good way, in a bad way, positive, negative. What we're anxious to see it as fans, and Amir Abdullah is back, and he's set to be healthy, so we're anxious to see him. He played his college ball in Nebraska. Theo Riddick, he's more of the catch the ball out the backfield. I don't think this guy can take much of a pounding of a 20 to 25, 30 carries in between the tackles. He's not that type of guy, but he will catch the ball. He used to be a wide receiver at Notre Dame. Golden Tate is there. Marvin Jones played at California. And Eric Ebron put out a report that said that his main goal is playing 16 games. Eric Ebron, the tight end from the Detroit Lions, played his college ball at the University of North Carolina. He said his main goal was to play 16 games, so we anxious to see that. The weakness of this team, this Detroit Lions team, is on defense. And these two players that I'm about to mention to you, they aren't so weak. Ziggy Ansah, who played at BYU, he's very, very aggressive guy. He led the league in sacks about 2 years ago. And Darius Slay, he played his college ball at Mississippi State. So I'm anxious to see those guys and how they come out in the season opener at home. On the other side of the ball, Carson Palmer and Larry Fitzgerald. I think Carson Palmer is about 36 or 37 years old, and Larry Fitzgerald is about 34 years old. And if he accumulates 906 yards or 904 yards this year, it'll move him up to third place all time as a wide receiver in yardage. So I think he got something big to play for, but ultimately he and his head coach Bruce Arians, they won a championship. And they have a really solid defense. They're pretty young. Patrick Peterson never missed a Pro Bowl. He appears to be healthy. Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, he missed some time last year, but he expects to be healthy and start tomorrow. Robert Nkemdiche from the University of Ole Miss, if he can get a push, they expecting him to be able to push. And they also have a young rookie who they moved from outside to middle linebacker, Hassan Reddick, out of the University of Temple. So they have a real nice, solid, young group of guys on defense. On offense, we all know the stud out of the University of Northern Iowa, David Johnson. He had over 1,000 yards rushing, and I believe he got injured around the last game or the game before the last game, and he fell short receiving yards of 1,000 by about 100 and some odd yards. So he had over 800 and something yards receiving and over 1,000 rushing. He was actually the second leading receiver on that team, and he's a running back. Of course, the number one receiver on that team was Larry Fitzgerald. So I'm anxious to see how this team plays in week number one, game number one of this 2017-18 season. And the next 1 o'clock game we're going to talk about is Jacksonville Jaguars. They are heading to Houston Texans to play Houston, Texas. Before I speak about Houston, I'm going to say that Jacksonville has a 30% chance to win this game, and the Houston Texans have a 70% chance to win this game, and they're favored by 5. But before I go in further and talk about Bill O'Brien's team, I want to first say that I have a lot of respect for J.J. Watt and what he's been able to accomplish down there after the disaster that they had with the flooding and things of that nature. He has raised over $27 million, and his goal was just $200,000. And I think he used his platform very, very well, because the people down there really need, they done had first responders from this area go down there as well and help and give some of those people some assistance. And so Jacksonville, after they play the game, they're going to stay there because of what's going on in Florida and stuff like that. So I just wanted to take that time to give respect to J.J. Watt and what he's been able to do. He's an exceptional football player, rushing the passer and also stopping the run. But we know that those people in need. So this game will hopefully uplift them, and if they have a chance to win the game. But I'm going to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars, because their coach down there is Doug Marrone, who was formerly the coach of the Buffalo Bills. He was also the offensive line coach down there a year ago under Gus Bradley. And Tom Coughlin has been named the GM and I think player personnel. And he was the first coach down there when they were an expansion team back in, I want to say, 96, 97. I stand to be corrected, but it was around in the mid-90s. He was the first coach down there. So they have some talented people down. They have some talented players down there, and unfortunately, the young rookie that they drafted out of University of Oklahoma, D.D. Westbrook, he's on IR. He has a core muscle tear, something of that sort. So he's on IR. Hopefully he's able to come back and play later on in the year. Allen Robinson, who played his college ball at Penn State. Marquise Lee played his college ball at USC. Blake Bortles was a #1 draft pick. He's been struggling. He had one good year, and I believe it was in 2015, but since then he has struggled. I don't think the Jaguars has won more than 4 or 5 games since he's been there, so they want to change that. They have they drafted Leonard Fournette with the 4th pick this year out of LSU. They have Chris Ivory. He played his college ball in Tiffin. Tiffin is in Ohio. T.J. Yeldon played his college ball at Alabama. Malik Jackson, who was one of the stars of the Super Bowl on the Denver team, he played his college ball in Tennessee. Jacksonville really has some talented players. They just need to put it together, and hopefully they can get some wins. And I think with this new regime that they have down there between the GM and the coach, this is what they trying to accomplish down there. Dante Fowler, who played his college ball in Florida, a pass rusher, hurt his knee as a rookie in training camp. He's healthy. Miles Jack, who played his college ball at UCLA. Jalen Ramsey, he's back healthy. He had a core muscle repair. Played college ball in Florida State. And A.J. Boyle, who they got in free agency from Houston. He played his college ball at University of Central Florida. The Jacksonville Jaguars has a talented on paper. They're about 90% there, but they just have to put it together and translate the players and the scheme and things of that nature to wins. So moving along to the home team, as I spoke about a little bit briefly earlier about outside of football, Bill O'Brien's team, they drafted the rookie quarterback from Clemson, Deshaun Watson, but he won't be getting the start. But I believe, and most people around the league believe, that we will see him sometime this year. But Tom Savage, who played his college ball at Pittsburgh, he actually played at 4 colleges, but he finished it he was drafted from the University of Pittsburgh. So he's going to get the start. Lamar Miller, who had over 1,000 yards last year, played with the Miami Dolphins and went to the University of Miami. Congratulations to DeAndre Hopkins, played his college ball at Clemson. He just got a big contract. I believe it's about 5 years, $80 million or something. He's I want to say he's the highest paid receiver. I stand to be corrected on that, but if he's not, he's top 1, 2. Braxton Miller out of University of Ohio State. He was in the lineup last year as a rookie, got injured. J.J. Watt, as I said, he played his college ball at Wisconsin. Merciless, Brian Cushion, all of these guys are still there. They have a very, very stout defense. Jadeveon Clowney out of University of South Carolina. Everybody's healthy and expected big things out of them. They are expected to win that division. And so the next 1 o'clock game is a rematch from last year, and Oakland Raiders against the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans is the home team. Jack Del Rio brings his team to face Mike Mularkey, and Oakland Raiders have a 46% chance to win this game, and the Titans have a 54% chance to win this game, and they favor by 3 points. And so I'll talk first about the visiting team, Oakland Raiders, Jack Del Rio's team. Jack Del Rio is a defensive-minded head coach, and his defensive coordinator is Ken Norton Jr. And it's highly unacceptable for these defensive minds and very good defensive players, and Ken Norton Jr., Hall of Fame, they don't play good defense. Now, and I mean that with all due respect to Khalil Mack and Bruce Irvin. Khalil Mack played his college ball at Buffalo, and Bruce Irvin played at University of West Virginia. Bruce Irvin is a Super Bowl champion with the Seattle Seahawks. Back in 2012, they beat the Denver Broncos. But outside of that, they really are unstable on the defensive side of the ball. Another highlight about this game, these two quarterbacks broke their legs around the same time a year ago. So these quarterbacks are making their start after rehabilitation. And Dirk Carr, who played at Fresno State, Michael Crabtree from Texas Tech, Amari Cooper played at Alabama, Marshawn Lynch came home, so to speak, sort of like LeBron did from Miami to Cleveland. He born and raised up in Oakland, so he been out of football for the last 2 years. He won a Super Bowl. He was on the Super Bowl team with Bruce Irvin, so they expecting him to carry the load. He's a very violent runner, so they projected to be the team to give. They are projected to give the team New England Patriots a little run for their money this year. So we just have to see how that goes along. The Tennessee Titans now, Mike Mularkey's team, they had arguably the best team running. They led as team stats as far as rushing. They led the league last year with team rushing. Obviously, who we'll talk about later, Zeke Elliott, he led the league in rushing as a single running back. But team-wise,